right. Hi, everyone. Very nice to see you all. We are, so if you're watching the replay, you can still comment, you can still leave your questions. We will see them, okay? We're talking to Brittany Edwards today, who was a Fulbright Fellow and went to Taiwan to teach. So we're going to talk about a couple of different things. We're talking about the experience of being a teacher in Taiwan, teaching English in Taiwan. And we're just going to talk about like life in Taiwan. She lived in a small, like in the country, close to a big city. So we're going to talk about what it's like there. If you're interested in any of these things, hang out with us, hang out with us. We are talking about teaching English specifically because you know, or you maybe don't know, we have a workshop on teaching English abroad and a workshop on teaching English online coming up. You can register for those workshops at exodussummit.com/workshops. They're in February, so you better get your registration on. All right, so we've done the intro. We've given you time. This is me giving you time to get on the live stream, so you can't say, I can't find you guys. We're here.
And this is me figuring out how to get it into the place I was supposed to share it to, but I don't think I shared it to. So.
We're getting, okay, so you should be on now. I've talked as long as I can. So welcome, Brittany. Hi.
Hey, hello. Sorry, really quick. My mom is calling me and I just have to tell her I have a meeting.
No worries. Actually, let me put this on Do Not Disturb too.
Yes, because Rashida's mom is also about to open the door any second now.
She just walked in and was like, I'm going to Taiwan next year. I should watch this too.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah, she is.
Wonderful. Perfect timing.
I'm sorry?
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
All right. Okay. All right. So do you need a second, Brittany? I'm sorry.
I'm good to go now.
Okay. All right. So hi, welcome. Welcome. Brittany's joining us from Chicago. Hi.
Hi.
So tell us a little bit about how, so I did a little quick intro of you, but tell us how you came to teach in Taiwan. How did that happen?
Well, it's so funny because I was just replaying the transpiration of events and it is absolutely crazy. So what happened was I was a Pickering Fellowship finalist. So basically a Pickering Fellowship is to enter foreign service. And I went to DC, I did the interview and everything, but at the end of the day, I was just like, I don't think being a foreign service officer is for me. Okay. So I looked at the cost of rent and then I decided, no, this is ridiculous. I'm gonna move to China and teach English. So I applied with Echo Education and I applied on like April 25th. By the 26th, they emailed me, here's how you get your visa together. The 27th, we're supposed to have an interview. And that same day, Fulbright emailed me saying that I received a fellowship for Taiwan. Wow. So there were so many things all happening at one time. And then Taiwan just happened to be the one that came through. So that's how I ended up in Taiwan. It was through a Fulbright Fellowship.
Wonderful. Okay. And when was this?
This was 2018. So okay. 2018, yes.
Okay. How long were you in Taiwan?
Just shy of a year. So 11 months is the program term.
Okay. So you were there as part of the Fulbright Fellowship. This was your fellowship. Okay. And so you had applied, you just forgot you applied? Or how did they call you? Or you don't apply? Or?
So I received notification in January that I was a semi-finalist. And between January and maybe like late March, early April, you hear back about your status. And I actually was selected as an alternate. So it was in my mind that, you know, this probably isn't going to work out. And I was actually upgraded. I don't know. Okay. I was granted a placement. So that's how I kind of, you know, didn't really think that Taiwan was going to come through, and it did. So. Okay.
That is perfect timing though, because you said that's right at that moment you had started questioning, like, why do I live in the United States? The rent is too high, right?
Yes. Cost of living was absolutely crazy, especially in relation to Taiwan. Like the cost of living, food, rent, gas, everything is just so different.
Yeah. how did you decide on, how had you thought about China? Like you had said, I'm going to go teach in China. How had that idea even come to you? Did you know someone?
I've actually been studying Chinese for a while, since
Oh.
third grade. So I've kind of just been really connected with East Asian, specifically Chinese culture for a while. And in 2015, I taught English in China for 3 weeks with an elementary school. So I was kind of, familiar, had a little bit of connections and everything. And then 2018, I just decided, you know what, let me just go back.
Okay.
And so that's also why I was targeting Taiwan for Fulbright, because it was a place that I was familiar with the language and culture. And so I was like, if there's not Fulbright in Taiwan, or if there's not Fulbright in China, then I can go to Taiwan. And I end up loving Taiwan. Like, my heart is there.
So Brittany is the author of a book on Taiwan, Traveling Black Women. We know Nadine Duncan. She spoke at Exodus Summit. They have a series of books, like travel guides, a series of travel guides for Black women. And Brittany is the author of the book on Taiwan, and it's called An Underrated Paradise. So
It really is.
Please give us the info. Why is Taiwan an underrated paradise? What's so great about it?
It just feels like such an enchanting place. And I'm trying to put my finger on what exactly that's stemming from, right? Like, is that because of the mountains and waterfalls and gorges and how convenient and accessible everything is? Is it in the heart of a people and how generous they are, how thoughtful and caring and giving? Is it in the sunsets? Is it in the food? You know what I mean? So there's just, I feel something I really love is serendipity. And there's a lot of serendipity in Taiwan in terms of the alleyways where you can sneak into and find, just stumble upon something you weren't expecting. Or there's also kind of this, that kind of stumble upon culture where you can find something that you didn't know was there because it's not on Google Maps. It's kind of like a word of mouth sort of thing. So that just lends itself to so much adventure. And I just love it. I'm so in love with Taiwan, and I'm not sure what that's from, right? Is it because of the waterfalls and the mountains and the gorges and just how easy it is to travel everywhere? You could just hop in a car 2 hours and you're on the other side. Or is it in the food and the cuisine? Is it in the people, their generosity and hospitality? It feels like such a magical place for me. And that's why I feel it's underrated. And also, not a lot of people think about Taiwan or think about wanting to travel to Taiwan. In fact, a lot of the times when I said I was going to Taiwan, people told me, have fun in Thailand. It's just, it's a place that not a lot of people think about. And I think that should change.
That's right. Yeah, I hear that a lot when you say Taiwan. People are like, oh, Thailand. So it's like a natural beauty. It's an island, and there's like, the nature, like for nature lovers, it's a paradise.
Yes. And there's also large cities as well. So it's a nice combination, right? You don't have to choose one or the other. Versus in a larger place like the United States, you either have to go to a country or to the city. But in Taiwan, you can experience both country and city so easily.
How far from a city were you?
I was about 30-minute drive to a major city. But technically I lived in an urban township, which is Lugang. It's a historical center. It was the old capital or not the old capital, but it was just a major port way, way, way back in the day. So it's a denser space than living in a more, countryside, rural area.
Okay. So not country, but not city.
Yes.
Okay. But were you I don't know how to, okay. So when we go places there, people always ask, are there Black people there? Were there Black people there? Were you the only Black person ever in the history of this, of this township? What was that like?
She got her face.
So there were definitely people there that had never seen a Black person in their life, right? That's the type of place I was living in.
Okay.
Okay, question for that. I find when I'm in an area and that happens, it's generational. Like these people of this generation have not seen Black people, whether that's like, in some places it's really young people and in other places it's really old people. Did you have that experience there, or was it like across all age groups? Black people were
I feel like it's probably something like a U. So the old people and the really, really young people haven't, but the younger in the middle-ish that are actively using the internet, they probably have. But like live in person in my township, I would imagine it's less people that I've seen. But strangely enough, there was one day I was shopping in the market and I walked past this person. I just turned around. I did a couple of, like, I walked back and forth a couple of times because I was like, is this my eyes? Am I, going? And I was pretty sure it was a woman of color. But I was like, nah, it can't be. Like, not here. And something happened where, like, a couple of weeks later, there was some type of serendipitous way that I think we connected on the internet. And I was like, oh my gosh, I saw you. Wait, you live here? There's another one of me. And so we connected, and we were both floored that there was another Black woman living in that same county in Taiwan at the same time. And so we connected, but there's definitely not a lot of Black people in Taiwan, but also specifically where I was living. I was mistaken for Indian several times. Mm-hmm. There's just no exposure.
How were you treated?
It was also a toss-up. So sometimes I received really special treatment, right? Like I went to this famous restaurant. The chef is featured in a Netflix documentary, and I didn't have any reservation. They set me up in this like special room. They turned on the air conditioning. I got invited into the cooking chamber first. I was like, okay, well, hello. But then there's also times where I'm on the verge of tears for how people are responding to me. And it's always subtle, right? Like there's never any aggressive outbreaks where somebody is like, yelling, cursing, spitting, but it's like subtleties and a lot of microaggressions. And sometimes they're like natural responses. So for example, for children and seeing their emotion change, like that's different than seeing the emotion on an adult, right? Because that is just something that's ingrained in them to a point where, it's less of a learned reaction. And so that is a lot more painful than the adults, where you can kind of understand that they're coming from more, I don't know. I feel like for
programming, like they've been programmed, like.
And I feel like that's easier to work with than with children. So
I had two small kids in Thailand, actual Thailand, just lose their minds when they saw me. Like they were scared to death. And their mom, they were on a boat. They were like on a boat in the water on the edge of like almost on land. And the little girl first saw me, and you would have thought she saw a ghost. She was losing her mind. I was like, this little girl's about to fall out of this boat. She was clinging on to her mom. For the most part, I felt like everybody was like, oh, look, there's a Black person. But I did have that experience where I thought, this poor child, she's gonna have a heart attack. I'm gonna turn around and come back later because she's gonna lose it.
And I had something like that happen in Thailand, in Bangkok, where I was turning down the train and this kid saw me and started pointing and like getting his brother's attention, and like his mom, like just pointing and pointing. And both the brother and the mom clearly watched more TV because they were like, calm down. Like, it's our life. He wasn't even like upset. He was just like shocked. But the thing that I thought was like, for me, that bothered me the most not bothered, but like, you know, it impacts your day a little bit, was that the mom was like, don't point. And then he kept doing it. And she was like, your son is like freaking out and pointing at, not freaking out, but like pointing at me in shock. And like the fact that you're not like, you're okay with this interaction between us, where like he is pointing and expressing shock at seeing a Negro, and you don't feel like cutting this off is something that as a parent you should do. You're just like the brother was like, leave me. Like, the kid was probably like 3, and his brother was like 5. And the 5-year-old was like, so what? Like, but the 3-year-old, or what, a 2, 3, whatever he was just like, it's one of my most memorable times of dealing with people like that. Like in Vietnam, I had old people who would point and laugh, and I'm like, I don't get the joke, but okay. And I'm just like, you're an older Vietnamese person, you've probably seen Black people before. Like you have, so I don't know what this is, but I was with another Black woman and we both noticed it from like multiple people. Like, why is this, what is happening? I don't get this interaction here. But to your point earlier, I feel like there's that where people in the middle are kind of like, whatever. And just what that length of time in the middle is depends on, I think, a lot of different circumstances.
Yeah. Amma wants to know the name of the town or the area you were in.
Lugang. So that's Lukang.
And it was close to a city called something else.
So, sorry, that's the city that I lived in, or like the township that I lived in.
Okay.
And the county, you could say, so think of it kind of maybe like a state in the US, is Changhua. So Changhua.
And that's where like you would go if you wanted to actually do stuff.
No.
Oh. I thought,
Illinois, right? And so I lived in, my Chicago was Lugang. And my big city was, I don't know, like New York or something like that. You know, it's in another county.
Okay. All right. So Finesse says, since you were the only, or since there were only 2 Black people there, how did you find community?
One thing that's nice about going with Fulbright is that you're in a built-in community. So there are the people that are also on the grant with me, and then we're broken up across the island and we have different pockets. So there is my cohort in Changhua, and then there's also, you know, we make our little group of the POC in Taiwan. And so it was nice to also have that community that I can connect with beyond just my specific location cohort.
I think that teachers in general, people who are teaching English abroad in general, make their own communities anyway, you know, because you probably don't speak the language. So you studied Chinese for years, but then you're in Taiwan. They speak Taiwanese, right?
Yes. So it's really interesting because they speak a lot of Mandarin Chinese, but then also, depending on where you are, they'll speak a lot of Taiwanese. And in my county, they speak a lot of Taiwanese, like especially the older people. So there are certain markets that I go to and I can hardly communicate because the people that are maybe like mid-30s and older, they mostly operate with Taiwanese. And so they only know Mandarin from school. And if, you know, their community is mostly speaking Taiwanese, that they don't really need to practice their Mandarin. So for some of them, it's harder to communicate. Mid-30s is kind of close to the cutoff, but mid-30s are pretty adept in both their Taiwanese and Mandarin. The younger students now mostly know Mandarin, but some know a little bit of Taiwanese. So Taiwanese is kind of becoming, I don't want to say it's a dying language, but it's just becoming like less popularly spoken. And then there are also like indigenous languages that are there with the ethnic groups that are like the Aborigines of Taiwan. And so there's a lot happening there with language. But also there is English on the rise as well. So I think that, I mean, in fact, I know people that live in Taiwan that have been living there for about 7 years that have no language understanding. Like they only speak English, right? And they've been fully living in Taiwan. So even though there's all of this happening with the language, it's still a really accessible place for anyone, I think. Or yeah.
I like exploring the language barrier that you talked about earlier. So you're at the market, you don't speak Taiwanese, they don't speak English or Mandarin. You were still able to get the things done that you needed to get done?
Yes. I think most of them that know Mandarin, it's just know like a little bit, but you could do, you know, your fingers pointing, confused face, you know, so I never felt much difficulties at markets. At the doctors, that's a different situation because that's a product of vocabulary. Like they didn't really stress that in school. Like, yes, I know how to eat at a restaurant, but I don't know how to talk to a doctor, right? So that was a place that was maybe like a source of stress that I think people don't think about much when they move abroad or go to another country. It's how can I connect to the emergency services here? Like if there's something wrong with my eye, how do I communicate that to somebody, you know?
Right.
Did you have help through the program or through the school? If you needed, like if you had an emergency, would there have been someone to help you?
There is and there isn't. And the way I say that is, for example, there were some times that my roommate needed me to drive her to the hospital late at night. And we have a coordinator for our county, but connecting with them at that time of night, they don't live, you know, down the road because there's an entire county and there's 8 of us there. So we have the capacity to connect with them, but it also comes to a point where like, you don't want to kind of constantly be bothering someone at a certain time of night. You're mindful of the fact that there's 8 of you. So for me, I feel that support happening more if it's a preemptive visit, right? Because I also have the teachers at my school that I could say, hey, like there's something wrong with my eye that really happened one time. And, you know, can we go to the doctor? And so that was an option. But if it's something like immediate, that's a little bit more tricky.
Yeah, we have Adelia in the chat, and she was a teacher in China. Yeah, she had developed a community with the other teachers there too to help, you know, navigate things. Because it is scary. It would be very scary. Like we're both in Mexico now. It would be very scary to have some sort of emergency and not be able to communicate.
I think about that because besides my cell phone, I don't have like a phone in my apartment. So I'm like, what would I have to do if something happened? My mom's here with me. If something happened to me or my mom, like, would I have to go to the lobby and like pantomime what's wrong and then have them call? I don't even know the number to call.
Yeah, anyway, that's right. You don't even know the emergency number. You know, it's not 911. I know that.
Yeah. So there's all of those. I spent a week in Taipei in 2018 spring, my career break, and 2019 then. It was fun. I think I was already a little tired by the time I got there. I had a good time. I don't really remember having that much of a language barrier, but I'm wondering if there's more English spoken in Taipei because it's a larger city. Yeah. Okay. So that's
one of the expat hubs. If there's anyone or anywhere that you're going in Taiwan and you don't know a lick of the language and you're not feeling adventurous, then Taipei is definitely the place to go. Okay. That's where the person that has lived there for 7 years that doesn't know any Chinese lives.
Okay, that makes sense. I feel like you, to your point, it would be harder to do that in the small towns where there are less foreigners there. Yeah,
a lot harder.
So who did you teach and what did you teach?
I taught 5th and 6th grade, like mainly, but I also actually, so I was also teaching English classes, but PE classes because CLEAL is like a popular thing that's on the rise with content language integrated learning. So that's teaching other subjects in English. So teaching PE in English or teaching art in English or science in English, etc. So that ended up becoming kind of like a dance class. So I was teaching English dance and then also reading stories to the first through sixth graders in the mornings. I think I had about somewhere around 20-ish classes a week, or like, class engaged things. And the school I was teaching in was actually in the rural township. So I was in the urban township, and right across, it was maybe like a 7-minute bike ride. That was my main mode of transportation. I have some horror stories about the buses, and I actually was also lucky enough to share a car with my roommates. It's really not common at all to have a car, especially not through Fulbright. So that also allowed for a lot more, like a different experience of the island because you can travel by car. But anyways, yes, my school was in a place that their main thing is agriculture, and there are a lot of cow farms over there specifically.
Okay. Now, without getting into any of the traumatic details, can you give us a little bit of a flavor of your bus horror stories?
I'll definitely tell you the traumatic details. So Changhua County is not the place to be living any kind of regular lifestyle. And by regular lifestyle, I mean, you can't be out of your house past 8, because I tried to take the bus home from, so our cohort was split into 2 groups, and we lived in Lugang and the others lived in Yunlin. And moral of the story is I found out by chance that the bus stops running at 9 p.m. And on more than one occasion, I had to take a 7-mile bike ride home late at night.
With probably no street lights because you're not in the city, or maybe you have street lights.
Dark, but yeah. I mean, it was actually kind of peaceful. I kind of liked it. I wouldn't do it like for fun, but I wasn't, mad to do it. But it wasn't that bad, but.
Okay, not ideal. Mm-hmm. So besides the buses stopping early, was there anything about like living in small town Taiwan that you're like, I never need to do that again in my life?
Honestly, I don't think there was anything that traumatizing. Okay. The only was kind of transportation with the bus, and like not knowing if the bus is going to come, when the bus is going to come, if the bus already came, am I standing at the right spot? I think most of my stress was around, or stressors were around that. And also, I mean, I got some questions that I could have lived my life without, like, is your hair real? Are your parents Black? If you're from America, why are you Black? Like I could have done well without that. But I can't think of anything beyond those situations that was, really difficult to deal with.
Okay. I got asked all of that in South Africa. So that's universal. How are you Black and you are from the United States? Why are you Black and you speak English? Why don't you have a father tongue? What is your father tongue? Not mother tongue, which I thought they were going to ask me. What is your father tongue? You don't speak Zulu? What is the problem here? What is the problem? And why? Your hair, just why? Yeah. I think you get those questions everywhere.
Yeah.
Which boggles the mind because everyone watches American TV around the world.
Apparently not. But I thought so too.
Places and shows are on, like I'll turn on TV in South Africa and they'll have American shows on. So I'm like, how do you not, like, we're not in all the shows, but we show up eventually, like in the background somewhere, most of them. Like how? And I think it's just, there's a lot of programming around the world about what America is, what it means, and that programming excludes Black people. So even if people see shows or hear songs, like, you know what I mean, music, whatever made in America that features Black people, it's like fighting that programming of like, no, America is like white. And so and great. And so anything that doesn't line up with that, I think can be a little bit of a disconnect sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it was Taiwan. I don't want people to blame Taiwan. It's not Taiwan. It's everywhere.
I was confused because this one time we were in like the middle. It was so rural where we were, and when I say rural, it's just like so deep into the mountains. And we were staying at this tea farm, and Save the Last Dance is showing on the TV. And I was just so confused because I was like, what is going on here? Like, did you specifically put this on because you knew we were here? Was this always on? Is this casually? Is this the idea of Black people that and Black culture that is the only thing they have? Like, it was just really, I was taken aback.
Adelia wrote in the comments, I say all the time, how do they know Beyonce is Black and American, but I can't be? And I'm like, you know what? Yes, that's going to be my comeback from now on. Like, you heard of Beyonce? They'll probably be like, are you her cousin? Like, why is she relevant to this conversation? Yeah, like, we have an entire history of Black entertainers coming from America that tour around the world and that people are familiar with. And yet still when they, like, even here in Mexico, like some guy asked me the other day if I was Cuban, and I was like, I don't know why. Like, I'm not upset by that at all. I don't know why that's the assumption though, instead of like a pretty obvious thing that like, I'm just from up north, not across the sea, like, or the ocean.
She's just a COVID refugee.
And so I think but it's frequently not the first thought for people that you could be from America. Even though they have the blueprint for that.
Do you, you talked a little bit in a YouTube video, I'll drop the link to your YouTube channel. You talked in a YouTube video about how bored you got with the school food. Can we talk a little bit about this? Because when I think of Taiwan, I think you're going to eat really well. And even the school lunch is going to be delicious. Am I wrong about this?
So I think honestly, my food dilemma was because I was in a more like an older township, right? So the type of foods that they have are like, they're more traditional and what the real people of Taiwan eat versus in larger cities. I think that there's a lot more, let's say, international exchange with their food and the style of food and the access to food, the cuisines. And then also I think street market food is different. Like street market food, definitely recommended. And I just think for me, I only had access to like the really traditional type of meals. And it just, for me, I need to feel excited about what I'm eating. And a lot of the times that was not at school lunches, but
what was it?
It's here too, so.
So what was it? What did you have every day for lunch at school?
They have like steamed egg, which is really interesting because it's like the consistency of maybe like a Jell-O, but it's kind of soft. Or it's like the consistency of like soft tofu. And
you started with it's interesting, and I checked out. I was like, let me get my Picky Girl Eats on and check the entire conversation. Oh, man.
They have like some kind of stewed meat, but I mean, it's just all kind of borderline. So for me, if I'm just eating it like, once a blue moon, I'm fine. But to have it every single day, it just kind of like wore down on my happiness. But so that's why it's kind of difficult for me to explain, because they aren't bad per se, but to have them exclusively just makes it intolerable.
So what did you gravitate towards eating when you were on your own time?
I found some things that I really loved eating like nearby me. I actually lived really close to a market, so super convenient. And when I say market, I mean, think about like a farmer's market. So it's that type of area. And there was this stall that had delicious rice and like, say barbecue pork. And there were some, for breakfast, I would often stop at the restaurants and pick something up just because it's so convenient. Like it's almost cheaper to buy food than to buy groceries and make food in Taiwan. So there's something really popular called a danbing, and it translates to egg cake, but it's not a quiche. It's nothing like that. But it's kind of like a tortilla with scallion and egg, and then I would get some fried chicken in it. And
Spanish tortilla.
Yeah, like just think about that concept of like a wrap, but the flour is different. It's not like, it's just for me to paint the picture of what the danbing kind of is like. It's like a wrap type of.
Okay, so I was trying to differentiate between the Spanish tortilla and the Mexican tortilla. The Spanish tortilla being the egg, like a quiche egg dish with potatoes and stuff, and the Mexican tortilla with no flour. Spanish tortilla, no flour. Mexican tortilla, flour or corn or something to wrap it with. There's no wrapping in the Spanish tortilla. So you're talking more like Mexican tortilla style? Or something in between?
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason is because there are like 4 variations of the same one thing. And that's like a scallion pancake. So it's like scallions chopped up with flour, and it's kind of like a wrap, but they can fry it. And by fry, I mean like pan fry. So it becomes kind of more similar to like a breaded wrap. But then there's also a way that they make it, and they put an egg on top, and it feels kind of more like rice paper, but than rice paper, but in terms of like the consistency. And then the other one is kind of more charred and crispy, or it could be flaky. I loved, like, I got wonton soup from my neighbor a lot. They had a restaurant, it was really good. I had a lot of noodle soup dishes, a lot of dumplings. Like, that's the kind of food that I like. That's not the kind of food they were serving at lunch. So outside, I was doing well, but at school specifically.
Were you able to bring your own food, or was that frowned upon?
I did start bringing my own food because I was like, I can't take this anymore. So what I actually did most of the time was I would buy a lot of breakfast in the morning at the restaurant and then just kind of save some for lunch. But sometimes I would bring some from home. It's just kind of a little bit precarious because they're not really microwaves to heat up like that. So, yeah.
Okay. Now, I already asked you what the bad parts of living in Taiwan were. What were like the absolutely amazing, you would recommend this experience for anyone, parts of your journey?
Travel, definitely. They have a high-speed train there. Why don't we have a high-speed train here? It takes you 2 hours to get from the north to the south of the island. Mm-hmm. If you drive across, and I drove across like through the middle, which is really difficult because there's this huge central mountain range that splits the island. And driving across the island is only 4 hours. Like, that's it. And so you could just accessibility, ease of travel, the expense, like, it's just, most of my meals cost less than $2. My rent was like $200, and we had a 5-floor house. For me, it's just the ease of travel, and I think cost of living that are like hands down. Oh, also the safety. Mm-hmm. You don't have to think, you don't have, like, it was actually a culture shock to me to realize how ingrained safety concerns are for me living here and how absent they were living in Taiwan. Right? Like, there were times that just got a lot of wonderful travel stories, but running out of gas in the middle of the mountains, don't know where I am, no phone service, can't connect to the host that we're supposed to be staying with. And I just drove up into this random community. It's pitch dark because there's no lights like that out in the mountains. And I'm just knocking on strangers' doors, like trying to get somebody so I can find out if I'm in the right place. Like, you can't do that in America. Not only because you don't know who's on the other side, but you don't know how who is on the other side is going to respond to you. Mm-hmm. And so that just, it really changes the way that you live your life, I feel like, when you can live so freely and so comfortably.
Mm-hmm. I know this was 2018, but do you remember, did it take you a while to get used to that, or were you able to just let it go immediately? Like, we carry some PTSD with us. Did it take you, were you doing things there that you were like, wait, why am I clutching my purse? Why am I, when I don't have to anymore?
I feel like I had a little bit of a K curve, where in the beginning I was projecting or expecting that the owners following me around the store was because they thought I was doing something, where really they just kind of, a lot of people in Taiwan that I've experienced have this kind of like babying, hand-holding way about foreigners, because they just think that, they're a foreign person, they don't know the language, they don't know their way around here, so like, let me, help them. Just like,
let me help them. Yes.
So there's that part. And then I just went completely down to zero. I'm like, oh, well, I'm just living my own free life, right? And then on the other end of it, it became, I started to develop this type of paranoia because a lot of people were taking my photo, because a lot of Black people. And so then it just came to a point where I just felt like anyone that had their phone in any type of parallel position was trying to take a photo, and I just kind of turn away or walk away. And then it was just really interesting, because I was like, am I projecting this expectation on these people now? I don't really know.
That photo thing is really strange. Not strange, but like, it's hard to, I thought I didn't care. And then one day I realized I was in Chiang Mai and I hadn't left the apartment all day because I didn't want anybody to take my picture. I was in a part of Thailand where Chinese tourists, the tour bus would come and park right in front of the building. And so anytime I go out to get food, and I realized like, oh, I haven't left. It does bother me. I thought it didn't bother me. I thought I was like, whatever, but it's getting on my nerves now.
I find that it's the kind of thing where if I'm vacationing somewhere, I can kind of, if it's like 7 days, I'll muddle through because I'm trying to do something. And I'm also probably going to places where other tourists are. So there's often less of that because they're traveling to other places and they're travelers, so they've seen Black people before. But like on my career break, when I was traveling for a year, like I was in Chiang Mai for 3 months, I can't do 3 months of this. Like I can't. And when I was in Southeast Asia for 4 months, it was like,
enough.
For me, like I got cussed out. I know I got cussed out in Chinese for telling someone I did not want to be in their photo. The touching, all of that stuff can be a lot, but I don't remember that happening at all in Taipei. And so to the point that it's a larger city, more expat, the larger the city you go to, the more they're used to expats, the more they will see Black people and the more you will no longer be an anomaly. So if that kind of thing makes you uncomfortable, don't say that certain parts of the world are off limits to you. Just be considerate about what parts you go to. Like, I want to say that, as I said that, I was like, that doesn't always work. Because like in Shanghai, I got touched, but I know they were tourists because we were doing tourist things. So I think they were tourists from rural parts of China who came and were like, it's a Negro. And so if you do tourist things, sometimes the tourists are not from areas where they see people, but you're often going to not have the constant like camera in your face like Brittany did in her small town.
Yeah.
So it's a trade-off.
But was the area small enough that they just got used to you, or no?
Yes, but also I'm kind of a homebody, so it's not like I was in the streets all the time, and not everybody had always seen me. But one thing that was just really charming about living in a small town was having like a usual places, like I would walk in and they say, hey, the usual. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Or they'll just already know your order. And that was just so cute because in America, you're always a nobody. But there, there's sometimes that you're special. So it was just a nice experience.
Yeah. Yeah, that is nice. My thing is I like it when I drop off my laundry, when I go pick it up, I never need my laundry ticket. I don't care how long, if it's my first time at this place or if I've been going there, I never need my laundry ticket. I stand out, they remember me, they give me my laundry. That makes me feel good.
Here, in different parts of the city, it feels like that for like security. Like I don't have to tell you my name. Even at hotels, like when I've stayed at hotels and they're like, you can't get in unless you people, they're just like, here you go. Like we know who she is. So, and that part feels like, not that I'm special, but like they know me. You know, the security, but where I live now, I know the people in the grocery store know me because I've been there more than 3 times. Like they know what this interaction is going to be. I have this much Spanish. We're going to rock with it. Like being Black in cities that are, or towns that do not have a lot of Black people, you stand out, and some of that can be bad and some of it can be convenient.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Yes. All right, friends.
Wait time.
Oh, okay, good. So, well, I kind of did, because I don't know. Do you want to do a giveaway for sharing, or do we want to do a giveaway during the session now? Like do a giveaway for people who share this afterwards, or do a giveaway now?
Let's do both.
I knew you were going to say that.
I'm posting one. So share now and we give away now. But if you want to do 2 separate ones, we can do 2 separate ones. Just 2 separate?
2 separate. Yeah. 2 separate. Yeah. So like share. So we'll give people time after after we're finished to share it.
Okay. So, all right. We are going to have Brittany get involved. Uh-huh. How do we want to, you know what? Let's just do this. If you want, are we just doing teaching abroad, or are we doing teaching abroad, teaching online?
You can pick any session you want, right? I think.
So, right, everyone who wants to win an Exodus Expat workshop or teaching abroad, teaching online workshop. Here's what you do. Wait. Right.
I'm winning this time.
Stephanie is not winning. Stephanie's mom is not winning. My mom is not winning. No. We have this all the time. I'm the bad guy. Brittany. I'm the bad guy. All right. Okay. Write down the name of the session you want. We can only write one. If you write 2, you're disqualified. 1 session. If you've already written 2, delete one of your answers. Write down 1, the name of 1 session that you want to win. If you want to change it later, you can just sign up for whichever one you want if you win. So just write down the name of a session. Write down name 1 session. If you write down 2, you're disqualified. Bad guy.
I'm going to name the sessions. Are we ready?
Yes.
Teaching abroad, teaching online, getting residency in Mexico, getting residency in Portugal, getting residency in France, getting residency in Costa Rica, getting residency in the Cayman Islands.
All right, pick any number between 1 and 21.
18.
Congratulations, Nabta. All right, so the Portugal workshop is in January. The Teaching English Abroad and Teaching English Online workshops are happening in February. Tell a friend, spread the word, okay? Because we're gonna be talking specifically about what kind of certifications. We're gonna talk about how to find a trustworthy program, how to get the job, okay? So it's gonna be, we say this all the time, I think that teaching English is like the expat, it's the way to see the world if you don't want to have to learn something new. You are a native English speaker. Am I right about this, Brittany? You, as a native English speaker, the world will pay you to come and teach them English. So you don't have to worry about, I need to learn this, I need to start a business, I need to just teach English, right? You already do it, right? And they will teach you to teach, right? These programs teach you to teach, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So I think it's a wonderful way to see the world, So that's that on that.
All right. So we're going to wrap this up. But when we leave here, there's one more chance for you to win. Mm-hmm. If you share this to your page or to a page you manage, mm-hmm. If you share it to a group,
your profile,
you are registered to win. But if your page is private, we can't see that you shared it. If your group is private, you can't share that we won't know that you shared it. So if you do that, maybe send us a screenshot so we know you shared it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, send us a screenshot so we know that you shared it, and you'll be entered to win, and Stephanie will handle that drawing. So
okay. Okay, good.
Just share it. If you shared it publicly or publicly on your page, we will see it in the shares. If you share it to a private place, or if you're not sure if it's public, send us a screenshot of a share and we'll count that.
All right, that was fun. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I'm dropping the link one more time. Oh, I'm doing it in the wrong place. Dropping the link one more time to Brittany's YouTube channel and to her book, Taiwan, An Underrated Paradise. I'm dropping that now so that you can make sure that you follow. Her Instagram handle is already on here, _Brittany _Edwards _. That's already there. But you can check out her. She's got videos about her experiences in Taiwan. And of course, she's got the whole book on Taiwan. So I'm dropping links to those now in the comments so that you can get more info, more in-depth look into life in Taiwan. And your mom will probably, you have to get the book for your mom so she can study up before her trip next year. You're welcome, Mama.
Yeah, you hear all the stuff you've written. She hears it too.
I support.
Yes.
Yes. All right, thank you so much. Brittany, we appreciate you. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, ma'am. I'm taking over.
I just heard my mom say thank you through the wall. So
you're welcome.
You're welcome. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brittany. It's been a blast.
Wonderful. I loved it. Thank you for inviting me, reaching out even.
Thank you.
Right. Question before you go is, where are you going to teach next?
Oh, good question, Kathy.
For me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, I feel inclined to say something really poetic, right? Like I'm always teaching, or every day I'm teaching someone, but I don't know. There's a reunion theoretically happening in Taiwan sometime soon, so hopefully I'll be back there for a little bit. But in terms of teaching English again, I don't know if I will, or where, or when. I'm not sure, but
you're retired.
Yeah. Minor detail. Yeah, I do consider myself retired. So I don't know if if, when, where the teaching will happen again, but we'll see what happens.
Brittany, welcome to the Exodus community. We are here. We're on the page, we're in the group, all over the place, but we have a lot of women who are interested in moving abroad, and I know that the things you told them today were really helpful for them, especially the ones who are thinking of Taiwan and South Asia more specifically, or more generally. But yes, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, we're live. We're back. Thank you for your patience, friends. We have no idea how much you heard and how much you didn't hear. So if someone remembers the last thing that was said, let us know. Brittany told us beautiful things about Taiwan. I wish you could have heard it.
Almost, I think all of it. I don't know.
I wish you could have heard.
Stories were told. We'll do it again. Thank you, Brittany, for your patience, and everyone else.